Good afternoon. Boa tarde. OK。Boa noite. OK， boa tarde. OK 大家好，晚安，不是晚安，晚上好很高兴我就这一场就是由我这边来主持然后我们这一场是要讨论大湾区跟文学多元化之间的关系的我们这一场大概会是双语的中文跟那个普通话，等会我们有一部分也会请到 Luke 帮我们做那个 translation。那我现在先介绍一下我们今天到场的作家们so this section is going to be bilingual, so we will speak both in Chinese Mandarin and English, and so we're going to talk about, I don't know if you find it very exciting, GBA, Greater Bay Area, and cultural diversification. And so let me introduce our guests first. So I'm going to speak in Mandarin if we are addressing the Chinese writer. I'm going to speak in English if we are going to addressing the Portuguese writer. OK 那我现在先介绍在我身边的这位是朱山波先生。朱先生他是在广西的作家，然后他出版了那个长篇小说《裸夫传》跟那个《马强传》自传，然后他也曾经写过小说时把世界分成两半，还有喂跑那个两匹马等等。然后他的作品非常重要，他在内地得到了首届的郁达夫那个奖，是非常高级的一个奖项，也非常重要的一个奖项，也曾经得到广西文艺创作铜鼓奖等等的多个奖项。然后他的小说也入选了这个内地的那个年度排行榜，还有也进入了洋子江文学排行榜等等。然后他现在也是在广州文学艺术学院的专业作家。然后 Mr. Zhu he published a lot of novels, you can see it here, some of it here, and so he also received a very important literature award in mainland China named Yu Da Fu Prize, and so his novels been shortlisted in several national lists of outstanding novel for years, and he is now a freelance writer, and also he's also working in the Guangdong literature academia. Okay, so this is Mr. Zhu, welcome. Okay, and now we have Mr. Weilian Wang, 王威廉先生。好，王威廉先生他也是一个大学老师，也是一个作家，然后跟我们算同行。他现在是在广州中山大学中文系的副教授，也是创意写作教研室的主任。然后他的创作也是非常的，大家也可以看到这边有他的非常多的小说。然后他现在有一个我说比较重要的作品，包括有小说《野未来》、内敛、非法入住，还有听言生长的声音、倒立生活等等，都在这边了。然后他的作品曾经翻译为英文、韩文、日文、匈牙利文等等的文字。他也曾经获得非常重要的文学奖项，包括紫金人民文学奖的文学奖、十月文学奖、发城文学奖，还有茅盾文学新人奖等等。然后他也入选了一个我觉得可能现在跟我们那个元宇宙等等都比较相关的一个文学奖，就华语科幻文学大赛的金奖，也是一个非常重要的奖项。像他也是中华优秀出版奖等等的那个奖的那个得奖奖。Professor Weilian Wang, so he's now the Director of Literature and also Associate Professor of Chinese Literature at Shenyang University in Zhongshan. And he is also the Director of the Creative Writing Teaching and Research Section at the university. And he has published like 1,000 novels, and you can see some of them here. And then I'm sure that both of their work you're going to be able to purchase in the Portuguese bookstore later. And so some of his famous, very important work translate into English, Japanese, Germany already, and so I can name some of them here. So including the novel Uncaptured Future, The Inner Face, Invading Your Room, The Sound of Soul Formation, and Life Upside Down. So all very exciting topics, right? And so he has also received dozens of very important literature awards in mainland China, including the Mao文学奖, one of the very important one in mainland China. And he has some of his work has also been receiving the Gold Award of the Chinese Science Fiction Literature Competition. So welcome us again, Professor Wang. Okay. And then I think the next one, Ricardo Pinto told me that I don't think I need any script to provide any script to you if I cannot introduce him properly. So I think I will lose my position very soon, right? Okay, so next one would be our very dear friend, and also important local writer, and also newspaper owner and journalist. And we have Carlos Morais. Okay. So of course we know that he's a poet, and he also did a lot of great translation to translate some of the very important ancient Chinese literature, okay, into Portuguese. And so we thank him a lot for introducing the literature into the western part of the world. And he's kind of exciting about how can we find the diversification, the path to diversification in the GBA. So we're very eager to listen to his opinion as well. 我们还有那个 Carlos Morais 老师，因为他现在是澳门的一个普文报纸的那个主编，他也是澳门非常有名的诗人，他也曾经把我们中文很重要的一些古典的翻译成那个英文。然后我现在就开始，我本人是林玉凤，我也算是个诗人吧，很久没有写，然后也出版过一些诗歌跟小说。然后我现在主要在澳门大学，我是传播系的副教授。So I'm Agnes Lam. So I write for the Macau Daily News as a columnist. I also publish some poems when I was younger. Okay, but now most of the time I'm working on some not very interesting research work. Okay, but I find some of them very interesting, and maybe I can share with you later. Okay, so thank you again for the Macau Literature Festival inviting us here, and last but not least, we have Luca here, very important supporters for our panel now. So I think we can start the conversation now. So because we have two guests, and then they are coming from the two important in Greater Bay Area, actually, they're coming. So we'd like to listen to them, what's their opinion about the GBA, but we're not going to talk about only politics. I think we're going to focus more about how this kind of expansion of the geography or geopolitics is how it's going to affect the identity or some other themes of literature. 现在我们就可以开始，然后等会我们比较双语这样子来讨论。我们想先问王老师 ，OK， 就是说，当我们在讲到今天，你会看到我们那个主题叫大湾区通往文学多元之路，我们有把那个议题限制在一个多元，可是我就想，我们的多元应该也跟我们讨论的多元有关。所以第一个问题就是说，当我们可能在那个区域发展上面，我们很强调大湾区的时候，其实对一个文学作者来说，尤其是当你们在写小说的时候，我常常会想到，会不会真的有一种情况会刺激到你们会想更多有关这个区域的那种作品？我们是不是真的有一个新的那个地域的概念以后，我们可以有更多元的一种创作？还是我们以后会不会有一种更多元的身份？还是我们会更本土、更本地、更想寻找自己的东西？我先请王老师。好。
It's a hard question. 大湾区是一个很新的概念，然后我主要生活在广州。当我写作的时候，其实我并不会去在意这个概念。当然，这个概念它提供了，像一面镜子一样像一个参考系一样，它可以让我们去看到一些平时被我们所忽略的东西那就是一种复杂性。就是我觉得，中国最复杂的地方就是在这个大湾区这个地方就像我们今天在这个会场里面，我刚才就是 我们听到了4种的语言啊，有葡萄牙语、英语啊、普通话，然后当然还有粤语，所以我们的表达非常的复杂，非常的多元啊。所以我觉得写作的时候也是这样的，当你在一个单一的经验的环境里面写作的时候，你就会忽视掉那些很丰富的声音，但是那些声音是非常珍贵的啊。所以大湾区这个概念，首先让我们要学会聆听啊，要听别人的声音。而且呢，就是我觉得文学特别伟大的一点就是，它永远是不会偏见的去看待一个问题，它会对任何的事物有一种同等的尊重啊，这个特别重要。就比方说，这个我们现在这个都知道，俄罗斯跟乌克兰在战争是吧？但这件事情就是以一个作家来看，他就不会说是马上给他下一个结论啊，就是说他会就是说站在一个人的立场、生命的立场去看待这件事情，他需要消化它，需要有一个过程，最终才能有一个自己的一个判断。所以文学永远是拒绝简化、简单化的。那么大湾区这个地方恰恰就是有着丰富的一种复杂的一些经验，我觉得这个是特别珍贵的，甚至是不仅对中国来说，对整个世界来说都是这样的。因为现在整个世界就是处在一个所谓的逆全球化的时期啊，各种的这种比较多元的声音，大家开始有了一种从交流，然后到一种就是说有一些各种的声音变得更加的坚持啊，就是沟通方面遭到了一些阻碍。但是正是在文学在大湾区这个地方是吧，就是我们正好是不同的文化和经验交织在这个地方，我们这样的生活方式已经持续了很多很多年然后就是每次来到澳门都觉得特别的舒服这种就是我们人类所特别需要的一种精神的品质我觉得这个就是对一个作家最重要的启示，而不是说我的写作一定要去表现这个地方的每一个地方的这个东西，而是要获得它的这个精神，那就是这种包容的、复杂的多元的这种气质我觉得这个是特别重要的。好，谢谢 ，Thank you。
好，We have Luca now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, this new concept for me is not that new. I live in Guangzhou, but while writing, I don't really think about this new concept. For me, it is like a mirror to see something we neglect sometimes, something complicated, something diverse. This area could be, or it is, the most complicated and diverse area in China. And sometimes, if you write in a in a different region, you will neglect other voices. So writing in this area for me means to listen to other voices, and also we should to respect other cultures and think about something equal for most of the people. And literature reject the idea of essentialized things. In this world we are living today, things are getting more complicated. So this new concept for me is not only for China, but for the world. It is a way to communicate. It is a way to understand others. And here in this area, Greater Bay Area, there are so many different lifestyles, different cultures, different languages. Every time when I come to Macau, I feel very comfortable for its diversity and tolerance. And so in general, it's about diversity, tolerance, and equality.
Okay, thank you, Luca. So, just not really need to recap, but we kind of follow up with Professor Wang's kind of remarks. So I like what he said, that just in this room, and then we speaking foreign language. Not, I don't really speak foreign language, but we are here, okay, as a together we speak Chinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, Portuguese, and English, and this kind of reflect how diversified and complicated the GBA could be. And so then the next question would be for 朱老师。 OK， 朱老师，你刚刚就王老师他其实讲到，可能在讲大湾区，我们就看到一个像一个面镜子，还是有一个框架吧，可以让我们刺激到我们去想别的东西。那对你来说，是不是也是比较类似的，还是你有不一样的一种看法？
好的，我跟王老师也有相似的看法，但是我可能我跟他比较之下，我跟大湾区靠得更近一点，因为我是来自广西，我广西跟那个广东交界的地方，我本身可以讲廣州話嘅，廣州白話我講得還可以嘅，
講得好好，
講得好好嘅，好好嘅，澳門語好好嘅。但是我是原来在广西生活工作很长时间，然后今年我到广州工作了，然后广州这个城市对我来说实际上是个世界性的一个城市，它是文化的多元性，相对内地来说，广州是个文化多元，然后观念思想比较自由开放这个一个地方。它是大湾区这个非常中心的一个城市，我觉得它这种博大的胸怀，一个自由的这种思想激荡的地方，我觉得对我来说有很大的吸引力。特别它是文化的多元性，从历史上到现在，在中国来说，这个城市，它的多元，它文化的多元跟思想多元。在这个地方体现的非常充分，我非常喜欢这个地方，然后它对我的写作也是一个巨大一个素材提供方式，因为我从小实际上我很向往广州大湾区这个地方，其实我是相当于一个回归。到了一个我非常向往这个地方，所以我粤语文化，我从小受这个港澳台粤语文化的影响非常大，从小就听这个香港啊、台湾啊、广州啊这种歌曲，就看这个电影电视剧，长大的，从小我的在村里面那个电视机能收到唯一的一个电视台就是珠江电视台。其他台都看不到，所以这个大湾区文化，这个粤语文化对我的影响非常深刻，是这个文化的认同也好，身份认同也好，实际上到了广州以后，持着这个是在身份上这个一个纠正过来，就是我是作为一个粤语文化的一个作家，这个身份的认同，我觉得这个对我来说可能就是也是像言归正传的意思，就是来了这个。这个什么归了我的本位，文化的归位，可能这个身份可能的转换，实际上不是转换，是归位，对我来说是这样，
好，谢谢朱老师 ，OK。
I share similar views with Mr. Wang. But maybe I'm more closer to the Greater Bay Area. I'm from Guangxi originally, but I can speak Cantonese. I lived and worked in Guangxi for many years. Recently, I moved to Guangzhou, and Guangzhou for me is culturally so diverse, and they have so many different new, free, open ideas. And historically, and even today, Guangzhou is kind of characterized by its openness and its diverse ideas, knowledge, cultures. And it provides a lot of materials for my writing. Personally, I'm very much influenced by Cantonese culture. Growing up, watching Cantonese operas, listening to Cantonese songs and musics. So for me, I feel very close to the Cantonese culture as a writer. So now moving to Guangzhou, for me is not relocate, but returning to that culture.
Okay, thank you, Luca. So kind of time that I think I don't know if Garros would kind of agree that the diversification actually happening here in Macau and also in Guangdong. And just now, Mr. Ju also kind of mentioned that to him actually he grew up in Guangxi, but as he's speaking kind of Cantonese, he felt that he could relocate to the Greater Bay Area as a Cantonese writer. Okay, so then now we have people here doing Macau literature, Chinese literature, but at the same time we can kind of call ourselves as Cantonese writer, and then you're doing Portuguese and maybe a little bit of English, right? And so how do you see the diversification here?
Yeah, this is so uncanny, right? You get to the bottom of China and there's some Portuguese literature being doing there. It doesn't make sense at all, as Macau doesn't make sense in a rational way, but it exists for 500 years. So the Great Bay Area. Everything I'm going to say about the Great Bay Area will just reflect my deep ignorance about it, because I don't know really what people are writing there. I cannot read these books, except if they are translated, of course, and I don't know. But I can speculate as a writer and not as an academic, that I'm not. So as a writer, sitting here in front of these beautiful people, I will speculate a bit. And what I have to speculate can begin with the languages, because really in the Great Bay Area you have a diversity of cultures. You have the Yue culture, normally called Cantonese, you have the Aka culture, and you have Macau. Macau, which have this Portuguese, Macanese, small island of strange people that speak a Latin language. Why? History will tell you why. I'm not going to tell you why, but we're here. And we produce, and it exists. So what I think would be really interesting for everybody was to create a network of translations and foreign editions of these translations, meaning the books of this gentleman should be translated to English and to Portuguese and put out. And my books should be translated to English and to Chinese and put out. And if we do like this, we in a way, the Guangdong area was always one of the places in China where there is more connection with foreign people, right? It's Guangdong and Shanghai. They are the two places, but especially Guangdong always had this commerce with the foreigners and the Europeans, etc. So it's just to pick up the trail. It's just to, but now it's not in a bad way. Now it's in a good way. I mean, to project to the Great Bay Area can help to put the Chinese literature that is produced there outside. I mean, should do it, since it's a door, since it's a door to China. So it can be a door not just to go inside, it can be a door also to come out. I think now it's time China to come out, not the foreigners to go in, as before. So I think this could be one of the roles that a good government of the Great Bay Area would apply. I mean, would improve this area of translations. And not only, I don't live in over there. I don't know how is the relationship between the different Chinese cultures that exist inside the Great Bay Area. I would love to know. Curiosity. Maybe they don't like each other, maybe they say bad things about each other, which always gives a lot of material. It's very interesting, Maybe there are cases of marriages among different, cultures inside China. I mean, all Chinese, but one not. Guangzhou is so interesting because it's a place where there's a lot of immigrants, people coming from everywhere in China. So it makes it, I think, a very cosmopolitan city in the Chinese sense. That's why today in Guangzhou you just listen to Mandarin, Putonghua, because people to understand each other must speak the common language, cannot speak each one his own. So just to finish, I thought that one day I would go to Chongqing and I stay there for 6 months to learn Putonghua and because I think I should learn where the first Western school was made. It was in Zhaojing by Matteo Ricci. So, and it's a beautiful city. I really, please go there. The people that don't know Zhaojing, it's naturally very beautiful. There's a beautiful lake and mountains, really nice place. The problem is they speak Cantonese. So I was so well received with my feeble Cantonese that I learned in Macau, but every time I speak with somebody, the people are so happy that I speak Cantonese that I understand I don't have a chance to go there and learn Putonghua, because if I go there, I continue to speak Cantonese as I speak in Macau. So Great Bay Area is full of surprises. It's a beautiful place. There are natural places, beautiful, that are really inspiring. I myself, when sometimes I travel around and I cannot avoid to write some poems about things I see, historical sites, with such a profound narratives, and with such a deep views into Chinese history, and especially into Chinese values that don't change so much as people think along the centuries. That allowed us to understand how China is so diverse, how China is not the monolith that the West likes to sell, but a very, very different. Even the Great Bay Area is so diversified. Now we can imagine if we put all the rest together. So I think it's a great experience for everybody to walk or to travel around this area, the different cities. Some are better than others, some are more industrial, and this is also a thing I would like to say, is that the Great Bay Area is very diverse in itself. You have awful towns full of factories and bad weather, bad hair, to breathe, but then you have beautiful natural places, you have beautiful cities, you have amazing villages that still keep this spirit from the past in the architecture, etc. It's one of the most cultural richest areas I have ever been. So I think it's what we would like to see when, the governments are really, people that rule the world, they don't understand anything. I was going to say a bad word in English, but I could. Because they always think about economy, They always think Great Bay Area, what it is. It's an economic area. No, it's not an economic area. It's an area with people, and people are not just economy. And if you forget people and you think of firms, if you think of business, nothing will grow except the fortune of some individual or something like that, So this is not really what's interesting for me when I think about a country, a region, whatever. It's the people and what they have to say to me as a human being, that we all are. And when this communication happens, and if this communication happens through translations, through meetings like this, that we can meet each other, etc., then the Great Bay Area will be a success. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Just a very quick response to what you just said. I think, actually, I was invited to several GBA forum in mainland China in the past few years, and then I always kind of remind people that actually we need to really focus on some of our cultural origins. So this is the only area in China that we all eat lychee, right? And then we all eat the fat noodle, the white one, the fried fat noodle, 炒河粉. Okay, so this is our culture. So we all have noodles in the whole area, in whole China. But the fried fat noodles, you have to try that. 乾炒牛河, right? Okay, everyone remember 乾炒牛河. Go to any restaurant, you order that, and that is very, very unique in this part of the area. So I think actually we are very diversified, but at the same time we have some kind of uniqueness here also. But I think I would have Luca to have a more detailed translation for Carlos' speech, maybe. Okay.
对于大湾区的文学，我有可能有几点 想法。第一个就是语言，因为这边这个地区内部不同的城市之间，它已经有很多不同的语言。比如说在澳门，你就有很多种不同的语言。然后另外一个我的想法是各种语言之间的翻译，在这个大湾区文学发展发展是非常重要的。大湾区可以作为各种文学之间翻译的一个桥梁。还有一个点是大湾区地区内部之间的文化和交流也是非常有趣的。也许他们两个地方的，就是他们大湾区内部也会有很多不同的意见或者想法。在这个地区整体上有很多移民，他们带来了很多不同的语言，不同的文化。我去肇庆学普通话，有一段时间我去肇庆学普通话。肇庆是一个非常美丽的地方，但是我去那边以后发现大家其实都是在讲广东话，所以我也没有怎么学到普通话。大湾区会给你带来非常多的惊喜，这个惊喜也许来自于语言，也有可能会来自于历史。在大湾区走一走，你会发现，这是一个非常不同和多元的地方。这边也许有很多工厂，有很多制造业，有一些灰色的天空，但是这里也有非常自然的风景，非常美丽的村庄风光。中国就是在这个区域走一走，你会发现中国是多元的，而不是西方很多媒体所指的一个单一的大国。就是如果说在我看来，如果大湾区的希望或者说它的一个前景就在于这里的人和这里的人民之间的交流，就像我们有可能这样简单的一个沟通，一次相遇，而不是只有经济的发展，而不是只有一个个公司或者说一些经济方面的发展。
Okay, thank you, Luca. And so I also kind of want to, maybe later we can talk a bit about the translation part, but I kind of want to remind everyone the legacy of Macau in the translation about Chinese English. So you might know that part of the Bible was translated here in Macau, right? And also we have the world's first Chinese and Portuguese dictionary, kind of compiled and published here. Yeah, and then but we have the world's first.
And the businessmen win, you know, and there's nothing but business.
But actually, we also have the Chinese English dictionary, the first, world's first one, also published here. And then the second Hong Kong governor, he translates some of the Chinese literature into English, also in Macau. And so actually, Macau was very, very important. But we are talking about GBA today, and so I also kind of want to share maybe some of you that know the Macau history might know that actually the Portuguese, they didn't choose Macau in the beginning, right? They were basically floating around in the GBA area. They've been to different cities, and eventually they find Macau. Okay, so it was like they were here. Yeah, or they choose to stay in Macau. Okay, so and that's the story. You were allowed. Yeah, you were allowed to.
The water is a little bit dark, a little bit brown. Stay there.
No, actually, I think the description in the history text was that kind of the Portuguese at that time, and then they encountered the typhoon, and then so all their goods were wet, and then they tried to come here at the Ama Temple, try to dry the goods. So that's the legacy, the story. So I think we can come back to talk a bit about the chances of the path that we kind of regain our legacy, as a translation port. And actually that's a really cultural exchange, intersection in the history. But now we'd like to, maybe we'll come back to the Chinese section a bit more to talk about, actually both the writer from Mainland has China talk about the identity issue, and also talk about why this area is so exciting, and what kind of story we should have, and are we hating each other from different area, and then how are we going to write about the love and hate his story here. So I will kind of go back to the Chinese section. 刚刚 高老师他有讲到，其实他很希望就看到我们讲大湾区就不要只是看到那个经济那个部分，我们也应该看到那个人文的那个部分文学的那个部分。然后他也提到，其实我们当年澳门很重要嘛，就东西交流的一个很重要的地方，翻译中葡中英的那个东西。而刚刚因为两位老师其实刚刚都有讲到一个大湾区这个地域本身，就像包括澳门包括广州，我们都看到他们是很开放很自由的，很不一样的。然后朱老师刚刚也提到，比如说我们开始有一种叫广东话的那种文化，像我们以前讲北京，他们北京鲁社，我就记得我们小时候常有一个疑惑，老社他用北京话写那个剧本，我们就说他写得很好，这个就是很有方言特点。可是我们在澳门写中文呢，我们把那个广东话那个方言写进去就有点不够。可是现在我觉得大家都比较开放了，我们就觉得有一些很有地域性的那种方言还有表达，其实是让那个文学更好看的。我就想从这个里面来看，如果我们真的现在大湾区给我们多一个框架去思考，包括我们那个故事的背景啦、人物的关系啦，一个人可以怎么样从比如说广西流动到广州，也要流动到澳门，我们有很多这种可能。然后我们接下来如果真的是要让你再构思下一个小说，如果这个是命题作文，你一定怎么样跟大湾区有点关系的，你要怎么样写？你觉得那种人物有什么可能性？然后这次我先请朱老师要不要讲讲？好，
就是一个作家的创作写作，肯定离不开那个你的成长的那个地方，那个童年的记忆，还有家乡的记忆，还有你在那个长期生活那个生活的经验，这个肯定是你的创作灵感的来源的基础。但是我的创作实际上跟大湾区跟这个地域还是有蛮密切的关系。比如说我的小说创作，我有一个小说叫这个风暴预警期，我写的就是这个中国南方以南这个地域的一些风土人情，一些人物的关系。比如说写台风是我这个小说里面这个基本的基调，相当于这个书的主角。因为我们南方饱受台风的这个之苦，是吧？但是台风留给我们的记忆也是深入我的骨髓里面去的，所以这些南方的记忆肯定自觉的进入我的创作。那么我下部的小说我也想是以南方这个时代的变迁，生活在南方这个地域里面的人们，他的在这个时代的变迁里面，他的心态、他的生活、他的情感发生了哪些变化，跟这个世界形成对话的关系，是吧？我往这方面思考。比如说我们这些小人物、普通民众，在这个南方大时代这个经济大潮、改革开放大潮里面，他这个人的命运的沉浮，人的人生的变化，对他整个人生、对他的生活、对他整个文化的冲击，会引起什么反响？会发生什么事情？跟这个世界有什么联系？对吧？跟整个世界、整个人类的发展，它在这个阶段、在这个时段、在这个特定的环境，它会发生什么？它会告诉我们什么？我们应该记录什么东西？这是我思考的一些问题。
For a writer, many of his writings is inspired from his early childhood, from his hometown life experience. In my novel, I always write about the south of China our South writing. And in one of my stories, typhoon is a very important theme. It is typhoon as a symbol is in the memory of the South, or we can say it is the memory of the South. Living in this area, we always encounter different things from typhoon. One of my main concerns in writing is to think about how the ordinary people cope with this kind of huge or fast economic progresses or changes. What happened to those ordinary people, and how do they cope with it culturally? And during our time in this area, what happened to them? That's one of my main aim or my concern in my writing.
所以朱老师，其实你讲到那个台风也真的是不是很多，我们说很中国的文学它有到这种意象，所以这个真的是我们非常南方我们这一边有的那个内容，然后已经在写了嘛，然后后面就说你之前有写过，可是如果你之后再写，能不能可能在台风间，我们会不会还有其他，比如说人物等等，其实也都可以比较反映到我们这个你跟这个地区的那种对话，就是说可能自然环境以外，是不是还有其他的那种人物等等的？如果你之后再写，就是说之前你可能有写到这方面的，然后比如说包括这一期来谈，我们会不会也会让你更想到我们之后那种人物会更，是不是说更复杂，还是更有历史感，还是怎么样哈？
对，这个台风是我们南方人的共同记忆，对吧？也是这个刻骨铭心的一些经历，所以我原来写个以台风为主题为背景的一系列小说，我将来我还是会用的这个意象，无论在诗歌里面还是小说里面还是散文，这个台风这个意象是没办法逃掉的，因为这个台风就是我们南方人必须日常生活中必须不断的面对的一个重大的一个自然的景象，它实际上台风对文学来说，它有一个巨大的隐喻在里面，它是一个文学的概念，它不单单是自然的概念，它蕴含很多文学的东西在里面，我们可以赋予它很多文学的内涵，对吧？这是文学的力量，文学的魅力在这里。
说下来，然后刚刚朱老师其实点醒我一个，我有一个就总结的不好了。其实朱老师里面讲到那个台风，不仅仅是说一个自然的概念，所以其实以那个台风为主题，更多是一种南方生活的一种隐喻，是不是这样子？好，我就有请卢卡先翻译一下哈。
Typhoon is a collective memory of the people who live in this area. I will use typhoon maybe often as an imagery in my writing in the future, in the poems or in the novels, because we have to face it often. And importantly, typhoon is not only for writings, it's not only a natural phenomena. For me, more importantly, is allegorically, or it's like an allegory. It can refer to many different things.
好，然后甚至到，然后去看王老师，然后你写南方，你觉得最重要的一个意象，还是觉得真的要大湾区的？你觉得有什么东西是跟我们这一个地区的那个文学就最相关？还是你也可以用你过去的作品，还是你以后要写的作品为例？好，
其实我写过一个跟大湾区有关的小说，就是这本叫《你的目光》。这个《你的目光》这个小说里面呢，其实写了一个职业。就是眼镜设计师，就专门设计眼镜的啊。虽然我不近视啊，但是所以我对这个事情更感兴趣。这个眼镜设计师他就是在深圳发生的一个故事，在深圳，然后就是一个街道啊，就是一个很小的地方，它生产了全球的6到7成的眼镜，所以这个事情当时给我一个很大的震撼。然后我也了解到了一个职业，就是眼镜设计师这个职业。那么他们做的眼镜设计不仅仅是就是我们平时佩戴的这种工业设计的眼镜， 他们有很多的这个奢侈品牌，包括卖到迪拜啊，就是那个用很贵重的金属做的，比方说一款眼镜卖到40万人民币。
都在深圳那边做。
对对对，奢侈品的眼镜，所以这个就是让我觉得特别有意思。那么对我来说，就是眼镜设计，它是一种对于目光的重塑啊，就是它是我们重新看待世界的一种眼光。所以我觉得在这个意义上来讲，大湾区就是我们中国看世界的一副眼镜，也是世界看中国的一副眼镜啊，就是澳门，包括香港，它就是这样的一副眼镜。我觉得它很有意思，它改变着中国人看待世界的目光，也同时改变着外界看待中国的一个目光。这个所以也是我写这本书的一个主题。那么我也说说今天就是的一点点小的感受。我觉得今天的这个开幕式的时候，我对这个画展特别感兴趣，就是因为我们就是刚才说到有4种的语言，但是我们今天画展的这个画家是来自美国的画家，我觉得特别好。为什么呢？因为在这个澳门啊，或者说在大湾区写作，有一个很困难的地方，就是你是不管是你是用这个其中的任何一种本地的语言写作，你都涉及到它的历史。啊，这是很复杂的，这是一个不容易说得清楚的事情啊。因为我们这个时代，就是只要谈及历史、谈及过去、谈及现在，可能大家的观念就会不一样啊。就是所以说，他就是作为一个美国人，他就是有一种陌生化的眼光来到这个地方，所以他发现了一个煤气罐，我觉得非常有意思。就是我觉得，在这个地方啊，每个人的这个生存的状态，有点像这个煤气罐，然后飘到了这个地方漂浮的状态，飘到了我们这个一个可能性的状态里面。我觉得这个就是说我要强调的啊，就是说一种可能性的东西啊，这个非常重要，而且漂流的这种可能性的东西。所以就是这也对我们带来一个很大的一个启示，就是我们的写作有的时候，就是我们可能是陷入到某种历史当中啊，有时候我们可能就是没法直接的去以人类的名义或身份去讲故事啊，可能我们应该是努力的回到这样一种状态当中，就是回到一个个体的一个生存的状况当中，完完全全的以一个个体的体验来写作，把自己也许就当成是一个漂流在大海上的煤气罐去写作，我觉得可能会有一些更大的发现啊。我觉得先说这么多啊，谢谢。
谢谢王老师很精彩的比喻，我就请卢卡把它比较完整的翻译出来哈，谢谢卢卡。
In one of my stories, I have wrote a story about an eyewear designer in Shenzhen. He works in a very small place in Shenzhen, but he produced or he designed 60 to 70% of the eyewears or glasses in this small area. And he also designs not only the ordinary eyewears, but also the luxury brands. And those eyewears are even sold to Dubai and other foreign countries. Here, I want to use eyewear as a metaphor, as how to express or how to express how this eyewear reshape how the way you look at the world. And here, I think the Great Bay Area also serve the similar function as eyewear. It is a good way for the world from the outside to look at China and how China look at the outside world. Today I was looking at the exhibition here. I found it was very interesting. The artist is American, and he uses his he has this he's not very familiar with the things we are familiar with, but he created interesting art pieces. For instance, he uses some very daily objects in our life, the ordinary objects in our life, and is floating here in this painting. So sometimes I think writing can also serve as a tool or something for us as individuals and how we are floating and creating.
Okay, so thank you. So I think now, okay. So I think we are going to have more discussion later because scholars want to respond right away, right? So just now, the two writers, I think they both use very important metaphor to talk about, the GBA would be or some kind of southern part, China's people's life here, and also the metaphor. So what do you? So it's not only about translation now. It's like more than that.
It's about infection, actually. It's about being infected, which is the truth. Great Bay Area was infected all the time by foreign people, by foreign ideas, by foreign. Identity, normal, is created by denying the other. I don't say I am like this, I say I am not like that. But this is difficult in the Great Bay Area because there is such a diversity of cultures, and people, when they are on their daily life, we touch each other. Our cultures also touch each other. And when cultures touch, they get weaker because they are infected by the other. So in the end, in my opinion, the identity of the Great Bay Area would not be one identity, but a diverse identity. It would be even a mixed identity. The identity that will result from the marriage of the woman that comes from the north and the man that comes from the west, from Guangxi. And then they meet, they have a son. What kind of culture will this guy have? Okay? So I think the Great Bay Area was always, it was not called like that, it was not called Great Bay Area, but it was always a place where China was, as I said, infected by, but this infection sometimes is very useful, even to protect us from other diseases. For instance, the Portuguese were the first to arrive, so when the English arrived, the Chinese were already vaccinated against Europeans. That's why there was a war, maybe. In the end, I think the important part is that the Great Bay Area gives us all chance to communicate and maybe to sell books, because after all, there's 60 million people in the. This is a market, man. This is more people than France, more people than Germany. So this is a real market. This is not an author that can sell good in the Great Bay Area will be a millionaire. Come on. Let's face it, this is very, very attractive for the future, I would say, when all this communication is working, so this opens great possibilities. And now, just to finish, the place of Macau, this town that is so small compared to the rest of the Great Bay Area, but as Miguel Sena Fernandes just said before, it has something that the others don't have. The Portuguese language, the Macanese culture, and the Portuguese culture. And this now belongs here too. It's not foreign. It was made here. It was not produced in another country and brought here. No, it's here for 500 years. It produced sons, it produced books in Portuguese. So it's one more richness. It's one more richness to not let die in the Great Bay Area. Not let die the literature produced in Portuguese in this area, because it's one more, and it's also a way out to a market of 250 million people that speak Portuguese. So we are also that way to these countries like Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, Portugal, etc., etc. So if Macau also can serve the Great Bay Area as a bridge to these countries. So this, as I said before, all these books should also be translated to Portuguese, should also be translated to English eventually, but Portuguese, I think it will be interesting. can you imagine that Macau allowed the Portuguese-speaking countries to be the most, where there are more contemporary Chinese writers translated? More than in France, more than in England, more than in Germany. The Macau government should do this, you know. This is not expensive. Expensive is to send businessmen in a trip to Portugal to see what they are going to, blah, 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 to make money, and then in the end almost nothing happens. This is expensive, and it's not useful. What is useful is to translate, and because the money is not so much, you create jobs for people that are sometimes have big difficulties to get the job they like people that deal with literature, etc. So there's a lot to do. Let's do it. Let's follow love.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. And so I think Lucas is going to translate, but before that, I would like to just pose a question for the two writers to prepare to respond later, and also for you guys, we're going to open the floor for questions and consideration as well. 刚刚卡鲁斯他讲了有一个听了两位的意见，他有一个很快有趣的那个回应，他就说其实就大湾区还是我们这种文化沟通就有点像那个感染一样嘛，我们可能就有点感染了外面的都市，可能自己也变了，然后中间我们感染的一个病毒可能也防止我们感染其他的东西，所以就说我们这种这个地方也很复杂，可是就是说，如果到最后就我们回到那个大湾区，还有我们不同城市之间，他之前有问一个问题，如果你们真的要写东西，其实大湾区的城市之间，他们都是互相喜欢，是一个身份，还是有几个？然后还是我们能不能写出一些我们其实这些地方里面的人与人之间，可能没有我们想象这么一面倒的那种形象，会不会有这种东西？两位老师先考虑一下，我们回头再来。我先请陆可也翻译一下。好。
就是这个地区从历史上开始受到了很多外国的文化与思想的影响，在这个地区各种文化都是有相互之间接触的，所以在我看来，大湾区的身份它不仅是单一的，而是多元的，甚至是混合的。历史上这个区域经常受到外国或者外国文化的影响，而这种影响会给我们一些更多交流的机会。就比如说，澳门这个地方这么小，在这个也属于现在这个现在属于这个大湾区的一部分。它这么小，但是它这里有一些非常独特的文化。这些文化它其实并不是说外来的，而是在这里本土已经发展了500年的文化。这里它有它本土的歌曲，也有本土的文学。所以就说我们应该也可能去创造更多的工作机会，创作更多的翻译机会，让更多的作品，就比如说这些作品翻译成葡文，而其他葡文的作品翻译成中文。
好，谢谢 Luca 然后我先请两位老师就都回应一下，然后我们接下来就看在座的朋友有没有那个问题就先请王老师先回应吧。
我觉得周凯石老师说的特别好就是人们交流就是经济只是一个最基本的一个活动，文化交流要更加重要对于人的这个生存和发展来说是非常重要的。所以就是其实我印象中，我第一次读到，比方说这个葡萄牙作家萨拉马格的小说就是澳门这边先翻译的，我以前看到的所以我对这个就是非常的认同那么因为这片就是澳门虽小，但是它所包含的这个历史问题文学问题实在是又太大所以这个澳门的题材并不是特别好写的你要真的把它写成一种就是非常重要的一个作品的话，它一定包含着对于整个这个世界历史的一个理解，对于人类当下以及未来走向的一些理解，我觉得所以它又非常非常的重要。所以这就是我觉得也是澳门文学节的一个很重要的意义就是我们尽管可能只是跟那个很有幸就跟大家就是好像我们相聚在这样的一个小地方，但是就是一个小的书店，但是它所蕴含的意义，它的启发，我想可能是非常深远的我也期待着我今后的写作能够把这样的一些启发给书写出来。好，谢谢。
谢谢王老师，好，我谢谢卢克。
Economic development or exchange is basic, but I think cultural exchange is more important. I have read Portuguese literature through translation, which was conducted in Macau. I think this kind of communication is very important. Just like this festival, we are gathering in in a small bookstore. But I believe events or activities like this will help us to have new ideas or enlighten some part of my writing in the future.
好啊，谢谢王老师，我们请朱老师也回应一下。
其实这个作家对一个陌生地方还是非常有这个吸引力的。比如说我到这个澳门到香港，这个地方，我觉得他给我的这个陌生化，带给我的这种视觉的，还有观念的冲击，这个对我的对我的生活经历这个很重要的补充，这个很重要，是交流，互相交流跟观念，我们跟外国作家也好，跟我们不同地域的作家。文化学者，他这种交流啊，我觉得很重要。他这种交流可能还启发我、启迪我的灵感。实际上我们每个作家都希望写出人类共同的经验、共同的这种价值，引起大家共鸣的作品，但是又想保留作家本来的独特性、个人的那种鲜明的个人的风格，这两者之间，我实际上也找到一个平衡，对吧？所以我们这种交流非常重要。比如说我在中国，在南方，在广西这个地方，我也眺望世界。比如说我这本书，这个撒哈拉望远，这写的是就非洲，我就写非洲的生活，中国医生援救非洲，在非洲那种援非医生的一些事迹，所以我觉得。无论一个作家无论在哪里，他的心、他的胸怀，应该是全世界的。所以我这个观点是说，这个世界性的写作，就是一个作家不能局限于本地方那个本地域那个小特色、小个性，还是要放眼世界。与世界的阳光践行这个世界性写作这个理念，我觉得是这种，所以我们还是多交流的。对。
好，谢谢朱老师。好，我先请陆凯翻译。
Unfamiliar places or foreign places are very attractive to writers. Even for me, when I came to Macau, I experienced this kind of interesting defamiliarization. And for writers, it is very important to communicate with each other, not only in this region, but also from writers from different parts of the world. As writers, we always have to balance between the shared experience or universal experiences, between this shared experience or universal experience with our own unique styles or our own thinkings. For me, I think I will go beyond where I stay or where I live. For instance, in my this novel, I wrote about the Chinese doctors who are working in Africa. So it's not only about where you live or your own culture, but also go beyond what you have around you. Do not limit it only to the place around yourself.
Okay, thank you. I think we all agree that even though we're talking about GBA or Macau here, but yeah, we should kind of keep our eyes open for the world, searching for different stories. So I think now maybe we can, I still have some time, right, Ricardo? So I think the floor is open. So any questions you want to pose to any of our writers here today, or you want to share some of your thoughts? I think both are welcome. Okay, this one, please.
我有一个问题想请教一下几位老师，就是我们到澳门以后，那我们比如说澳门本土的作家其实并不是那么多，那我们就是如果是内地的作家，或者说其他地方就是的人来到澳门以后写作，那其实就是算是一种过客文学。那这样写出来我们的作品呢，其实或许它会有就是澳门特色，但是更多的时候我认为可能会更多的是反而就是写出了我们自己故乡或者说我们经验写作出来的一种在异乡传达出来一种更深的一种乡愁在里面。对，其实我也想请教两位老师，就是当你们从自己的故乡去到其他地方的时候，你们写作你们的作品和你们故乡的这种关系是怎么样的？
Okay, thank you. We thank this lady's question. So she's asking about the two writers from mainland China to see that. So if like she's coming from somewhere else, if she's coming here and writing about Macau, she's writing something like we call passerby literature. So if you are passerby, you're writing about Macau, are you reflecting more about your kind of hometown, home country, or are you going to give people a kind of fresh mind, of this space? So I would have the two writers answer the question first, and maybe Gauss can later respond as well. 我们先请王老师，好吗？
好的，就是如何书写故乡是一个文学的主题，但是我们现在这个世界啊，就是变化太快了，故乡都在不断的消亡当中，其实故乡都在我们的记忆里面，所以我们在今天，如果你想写故乡，反而要离开故乡啊，可能离得越远，我们反而更能走进故乡，因为故乡不是一个就是客观的东西啊，就是故乡是你自己创造出来的东西，跟文学是一样的，所以就是我们离得越远，经历的越多，然后对于这个世界上其他的经验把握的更多更充分的时候，可能你才会意识到故乡意味着什么，你才会建立一个更好的一个坐标系来看待自己的故乡，可能这个时候你看待故乡会更客观一些。我在这儿举一个小例子，就是中国现代文学史上有一个很经典的小说作品，就是萧红的《呼兰河传》。那么萧红写《呼兰河传》的时候，他人是在香港，他在香港的时候，然后回望他的这个遥远的东北的那个故乡，然后才写下了这样的一个很有名的小说《呼兰河传》。我觉得这就是一个最好的例子。好，谢谢。
谢谢。我们先请朱老师都一并回应，我们再翻译哈。
好的，刚才王老师讲得很对，这个也是这个事实，确实跳出澳门看澳门，可能看得更清晰，因为这个我们真实的故乡跟文学的故乡还是有一定的差距。文学的故乡是我们作家笔下虚构的，而且用文学的充满文学色彩的、充满想象的、充满那个隐喻的一些东西。我们可能真的要离开这个地方，回望在太空里面回望故乡，可能这种回望就是文学，就是你写作的一个过程，也是你打开你自己对故乡理解的一个过程。我们所谓乡愁，没有离开故乡哪来乡愁，对吧？这个是一个方面，但是也有一些例外的作家，比如福克纳这些，对吧？这种很多张爱玲这些作家，他是从来没有离开过故乡，他就一直待在故乡写作。沈从文这些，对吧？不是沈从文，去北京，还有一些作家都在故乡写作，但是他这种写作的方式，跟我们离开故乡那种写作的方式可能又不一样。他这种在故乡写作，在故乡写故乡，我估计他的经验，他也是经过文学的加工，通过文学的想象，通过他的对一些微小的事物的放大，他可能他 他的灵魂跟他故乡已经交融在一起了。这种写作我觉得它也是有效的，所以就很难说清楚这个作家跟故乡的关系，这个是很重大的命题，也是很复杂、很丰富的东西，可以展开讨论。对。
好，谢谢朱老师的。因为时间关系，要不我们就不详细翻译了So just now the two writers respond to the question talking about actually sometimes maybe when you leave your hometown farther away, you're going to kind of understand your hometown better or look at it in a more kind of real perspective. So that's their response. So any questions? 有没有下一个问题？好。Okay, here. Thank you. So your mic.
晚上好。
Thank you.
问题在蓝老师和王老师。很多年，北京、上海、学澳门学习葡萄牙语。今年在澳门，很多澳门人不懂葡萄牙语。在珠海、香港、深圳，很多人不懂葡萄牙语。有问题吗？对不对？
So I think so. This lady is giving a comment. So she went to Beijing and learned Portuguese last year, and now this year she's just here in Macau. But then she find that a lot of people we don't speak Portuguese here in Macau, or no, we don't have a lot of people speaking Portuguese in the nearby region, right, Shanghai. So it's good, but you know, valuable the guest. So we find a more. Okay, so I'm so sorry. So that happens. It's like very complicated. Historical reason, okay, but I think we kind of survive well, even that we don't speak the language. So I think that we thank Ricardo always bring us here every year, you know, that we kind of understand how tolerant we could be. Okay, so we might hear speaking one of the 4 or 5 language, but then we wait until the translation complete, and we try to understand each other bit by bit, right? And then even that we have a new concept like GBA, thank you for the Macau Literature Fest. We will try to incorporate all kinds of new ideas, and so then we can open the floor to discuss, okay, when we're talking about writing, and then are we able to kind of using the new concept for us to think about the future or another novel or some other concept. So I think that maybe historically it might be good that we hear everyone speaks Portuguese as well, but okay, our ancestors survive and we do, and so now Portuguese still kind of preserved here in Macau, still okay, right, in an okay way. So I just hope that this will kind of last, and actually we have more people studying Portuguese already in Macau. We have more and more people doing that, and so maybe a few decades from now things would change, but that's what Carlos might want to echo a bit. So even that we do not have enough population speaking the language, but if we have good translator, we're able to conquer the world. Okay, right? Okay, we read from our language to understand different literature in different language, right? So I think that could be, maybe Carlos want to respond in a very quick manner. Okay.
Portuguese was a lingua franca in this area of the world in the 19th century. Then came the British. Then Portugal disappeared as an important country in Europe. And so Portuguese lost importance, and then came the French. And the French was the language of diplomacy in the world. And suddenly the French disappear after the Second World War because America took the world by, well, you know the story. So that's why we speak English. That's why I'm speaking English now. It's because America took over the world. It's not for another reason. It's just that. Well, it's not so bad. English is an easy language to speak. It could be Hungarian, which would be almost impossible to become. So, yeah, literature and writing are two different things. Writing you can find in the airports, you can find everywhere. Everybody writes. Everybody knows how to write. Not everybody knows how to make music, not everybody knows how to paint, but everybody knows how to write. So writing, it becomes something. Literature is something different. Because literature refers at itself. I mean, somebody that is a writer that writes literature must create an intertextuality with his own literature from the past of his literature, and also with other literatures. For instance, when I write in my head, I have so many authors. I don't have just Portuguese authors. I have French authors. I have English writers. Now I have Chinese authors. You know, there's sounds in my head. Everything comes up. And then it's my subjectivity that's put them together in a special design that I create, right? According to my emotions, according to my beliefs and my disbeliefs, according to the things I love and the things I don't like. So this is literature, is this coming and going through the texts. Like literature, imagine it as a big text that is being written by many authors. But it's the same. It's just a text being written all the time. Let's be a little bit humble and forget this thing of names. I am this writer. No, when I write, am I me? This is a question all the writers should ask themselves. How much of me is in my writing, for instance? And they say, oh, are my ideas really? Are they? Are they your ideas? Let's Google it. Sometimes you get surprised. So I think the important part is that when you write literature, you don't have to worry where you come from or where you are. It's inside you already. It's your education, in a way, that gave you a personality, that gave you your experience when you are a child, your experience when you are a toddler, growing up to a youth and then to an adult. This is what really constructs you. So after that, everything you read, everything you see, everything you thought, the cities you visit. But in the end, what matters is your voice, how your voice organizes the world. And if your voice organizes the world, you are creating another world. You are creating that world, your world. When I say my world, I don't like the word my. It's a new world, but it's not mine. I just created it maybe, but I had the help of thousands of writers that lived before me, thousands of painters that paint, and I saw their paintings and I was inspired by them, or even crushed by them, or marveled by them, whatever. Films, series, people I meet in my life. That's my voice. Okay, it's my voice, but is my voice really only mine? No, perhaps I just make a beautiful arrangement of words that can express something that you gave me. And that's the power of poetry, the power of writing, of literature, is to create this enchantment, or to create a sufficient needle that can really goes inside you and touch that point that you didn't know even that exists. That's literature. That's not writing. Something different. It has to do with enchantment. It has to have the music, and it has to have the images, because words have music and they create images. So it's something total. That's literature. That's what we love, you know. That's what people that really like this really feel, you know, like when you are in front of a painting and you almost fall on the floor because you're so emotional by this painting. This happened to me with Raphael in Rome, in Paris actually, never mind where. One of his latest works, the image is Christ is on the floor, he just dropped the cross, he's tired, and a man comes to help him to pick up the cross, and there are two women crying on the side. I look at his painting for maybe half an hour, and I was out of myself because of the expressions, the humanity that it's not really humanity. It's a very deep kind of humanity that a painter could put in the faces of these women, of this man, of the poor Christ on the floor. Never mind if it's Christ, Buddha, or Muhammad. It's the same. Never mind. What matters is the humans being represented on that painting. That really touched me. Like some poems touch me, like some books touch me, and even sometimes some ideas touch me. Because the ideas also have sometimes the power to marvel you. As a great poet, Portuguese poet said, a mathematical formula is so beautiful as the Venus of Milo. This is from Pessoa. He said this one time. He said the equation of Newton is so beautiful as the Venus of Milo. Yes, it is. So thank you very much for listening to us. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Carlos. And 汪老师也回应一下你的问题。我们请汪老师跟你讲那个故事。
对，我只是讲一个小故事，然后等我这个小故事可以翻译一下，很有意思。就是上个月我在南京开会，是一个关于国际翻译家的一个会议然后呢，就是当时聊到就是说这个主持人口误说到像这个葡萄牙语西班牙语这些小语种的怎么样，然后后来葡萄牙语的这个翻译家跟西班牙语的翻译家上台之后就表示了抗议，说我们怎么是小语种，我们覆盖的面要多少亿的人口是吧？巴西那边拉美都在说这些语言，然后这个但是呢，就是后来开会的时候然后大家又在探讨另外的一个话题，就是大家都在说为什么就是比方中文的作品首先要翻译成英文，然后他们才敢翻译，就是现在这个英语的市场里面试一试，如果卖得好，然后再翻译成西班牙文或者是葡萄牙文。我觉得这个故事就是足以说明我们今天所面临的一个环境我就说一个小故事。
好 ，OK
I want to share a very interesting story. When I was in a conference in Nanjing last month, it was a conference about translation, and the host introduced languages, the minor languages like Portuguese and Spanish. And then some people were not happy with this introduction. They were saying, no, we are not a minor language. A big population of people are speaking those languages like Portuguese and Spanish.
You don't know, English is going to disappear. In the United States, almost nobody speaks English anymore. Only on TV, actually. It's true. You go to the streets and speak Spanish. Come on, they speak Spanish. Oh, really? No English. They're on TV. They keep it for the important guys on TV. No, I'm joking. No, but the Spanish is really growing in the United States.
Maybe that's a good novel. What would be the world without English?
Because the question here.
Yeah, so we have the one maybe.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
You
can do it.
Hey, Mandarin English.
那我现在在想一下，我用什么语言说话呢？
It's good.
那我就普通话吧。
好啊，好啊。
普通话。那我首先要说一下那个刚才那个女士问的问题我个人觉得那个我们来自那个富裕国家的人，你需要有一个重要的需要，这个需要就是那个我们需要更加深入的来学会中文。 学会普通话，那我接着说呢，我要说一下那个大文句那个文学多元之路。那我听一下那个讲人，我非常同意你们的看法，那个当然那个问题 不仅仅落在那个语言方面，也落在那个文化交流。那我的问题就来了，我的问题就是这个路怎么走啊？这个路怎么走？这就是我的问题啊，谢谢。
So he's asking about the path. Okay. Okay.
I would
so
just like
the
to introduce Zerbo Freire, which is
Yeah.
a poet from Cabo Verde.
Oh, okay.
And he speaks, as you saw, Puton Waver. And I had the pleasure to publish a book from him. And also is a translator from Chinese to Portuguese.
Wow.
And is translating now Li Qingtao, right?
Yes. Okay.
Among others. And I already published also a book translated by him, which is some Jueju, the quatrains from the Tang Dynasty, that you can buy upstairs if you want, in Portuguese, of course, and Chinese, by the way. It's a bilingual book.
那看两位老师要不要回应一下？要刚刚卓凯师也介绍了，他也是一个诗人，也一直在做那个中葡的翻译的那个部分。先请朱老师先说好。
好的，其实这位老师讲的都是怎么交流，该怎么做，其实我们一起在做，对吧？这个文化的交流、文学的交流，一起在做，而且一起在交流，而且交流的方式跟途径可能是多种多样的，有些是通过经济的交流也好，文化贸易啊这些，文学啊，还有歌曲啊、艺术啊，各种各类的交流。都这个渠道很多，特别是通过文学的翻译，我阅读你的作品，你阅读我们的作品，这种实际上也是一种交流。这种交流可能是多元的，而且方法是我觉得越来越多。随着我们的我国的开放程度越来越开放，而且这种交流越来越密切的话，我觉得这种交流是这个方法还是蛮多的，对吧？路是靠我们走出来的。就是特别是对吧？我们现在不是在交流嘛，对吧？这种交流越多越好，我觉得是吧？
我说一下，上个月我见过了那个黄立海，黄立海对。我认识了黄立海，他说，那我要那个，我想我的最后他做了一书，翻译成古文，他问我一下，翻译怎么做翻译？姚老师说呢，你不急，你不要着急那个打懂中文，但是我问一下黄立海，我也是诗人啊，我也要那个把我的作品翻译成古文，我怎么做呢？那你自己做翻译吧。那我自己怎么做？那我说普通话可以啊，但是写汉字那个是一个自然的语言来表达我的意思，我的作品呢，那个是个很复杂。但是他说那个我到时候你现在把我的作品翻译成普文，我也要看一下你的作品，到时候我们可能在那个。我的国家那边佛在教，我可以发布他的作品，在中国发布我的作品，那这个是一个真正的交流，这个是一个真正的交流，这个不是说话呀，这个是一个真正的，这个路就是真正的路，那我们需要一个真正的脚步来走，是吧？谢谢。
Okay, so thank you. So this gentleman is asking about the genuine path to more diversified culture, and also how to kind of communicate with each other. So I think he believed that we should really start the translation kind of platform, okay, for different writers, right? It's more than that. Okay, it's more than that. So my translation is not good. Okay.
No.
Okay.
It should be systematic.
Yes, I agree. Actually,
systematic,
yeah.
Not just because one person like him, he likes one Chinese poet, so he translates the Chinese poem. This is not satisfying.
Yeah.
We cannot depend on the will of one person or two persons. We must have an institute. We must have some, an institution that we have a list of books that must be translated, that are not translated. This is the point.
Yeah.
And there is no government that can create such a thing. And this is the very regretful.
I think Carlos translate better what he really wants to say. Okay, and so I think we all agree that even that we've been kind of communicating, we've been kind of exchanging, but it's true that we kind of lose our kind of legacy. Okay, that Macau or the GBA, we were very open, but we were doing a lot of systematic translation of different literature work. And so I think that both of the I don't know, you are a poet here, okay, and maybe another writer, right? So they're here and kind of questioning about how can we really go beyond if we really want to have a diversification of literature and have some true exchange. And I think we all share the same view from you, and especially we have the Macau Literature Festival, and we hope that they do it better and better, and Ricardo Window will be able to asking or solicit some more funding that we start to have a bigger project to do translation systematically. And so I think this poet, he just mentioned that the true exchange should be if he want to translate his book in Chinese, and then so he can translate it, there would be a path, a way that he can do it, and not just interpersonally communicate with one person and then later he try to translate his work by himself. It's not like that. And so that should be a true way, and then later someone's work, maybe your novel, could be translated in Portuguese, and then you have your book launching in Cape Verde. And so if that happens, that's a true exchange and true diversification, right? So I think this is more or less like we should closing. So thank you much again for all of you participate. And I think each year we understand how special Macau would be, how special this festival would be. But this year, I think with this topic, we all understand that we should cherish the opportunity that we can still exchange with each other, and we still have at least this small group of people, maybe more people that would like to keep working on further exchange between different people and try to make each of us to read other people's work in our own language, even that we don't speak the language. And I think this is also the spirit of the Macau Literature Festival. So we thank Ricardo Pindu again, the organizer, and also thank you much for all the participants. Okay, thank you. Good night. 谢谢大家，谢谢我们的 speaker， 谢谢我老师。